It is the first NRA convention since the school shooting in Parkland, Florida.
Your Second Amendment rights are under siege, but they will never, ever be under siege as long as I'm your president.
It was just a little more than 2 months ago that he said this, though, about gun control.
Might take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
Cameron Kasky with us now, survivor of the massacre at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. Thank you so much, Cameron, for being with us. We so appreciate your time. President Trump there seemed to make a complete pivot to his promise on gun laws in terms of saying, yes, take guns first, go through the due process second, but then yesterday essentially promising his loyalty to the NRA. If you could sit down with the president this morning, what would you say to him?
Oh, I don't necessarily know. You see, he's a professional liar who will say anything to appease whatever crowd he's at. If he's in front of families, he might say something in support of common sense gun reform, but then when he's at the NRA, he'll say something to get a big cheer. The NRA convention is like Comic-Con. You really only get the diehard fans, the average Americans who are NRA members, the ones who perhaps got their membership free with the purchase of a handgun. They're not showing up there, and they're not holding Trump accountable for what he needs to actually talk about. They aren't going to this dog and pony show that Trump and Pence are going to. It's a celebration, really. And I hope they're having fun this year. But the average members of the NRA, they don't agree with Trump's stance on guns. They don't agree with board member Ted Nugent saying that Democrats and liberals need to be shot in the street like dogs. This is all spectacle. This is all Trump just trying to appeal to a crowd of people who really, really, really like weapons that shoot bullets fast.
Well, you said in a tweet, I want to get this out there, you call the NRA a hilarious parody of itself. Explain to us what you meant by that.
Well, in that one, I was looking at the fact that the Secret Service issued something saying that there were no firearms to be allowed at Vice President Pence's speech at the NRA, which is funny because you'd think that if someone supported the NRA, they'd want as many good guys with guns in the room as possible, right? The hypocrisy is so blatant here, and they're just embracing it at this point.
Well, and you made the point, the majority of people who are possible members of the NRA don't feel the same way that the diehards do, perhaps, who go to these meetings. Now, I want to look at some of the things that the president has said. He has called bump stocks a bad idea. He has said that, on March 14th, there was a tweet, today the House took major steps towards securing our schools by passing the Stop School Violence Act. He has supported or said that he would support raising the age to purchase certain firearms, that he would support expanding background checks. Do you believe that the president will do any of these things he has mentioned?
Well, first of all, President Trump, he follows the money. And as long as he's getting money from the NRA, who in turn is getting money from the gun manufacturers, I wouldn't expect anything common sense anytime soon from him. And in regards to the Stop School Violence Act, if you read it, it doesn't say the word gun once. The Stop School Violence Act was something that lawmakers who are taking money from the NRA are able to hide behind so they could say they took action after the tragedy at my school. But at the end of the day, the Stop School Violence Act is just it's a bag of hot air, really.
Cameron, help people understand your perspective here. There are some people who might think you want to take their Second Amendment right away. Is that your intention? No,
I'm in full support of the Second Amendment. My father has firearms inside our house. The only thing is, my father is trained. He has firearms that cannot mow down 17 people in 6 minutes. There are certain weapons that do not belong in the hands of citizens, and there are certain weapons that need to be regulated. When people put speed limits on the street, and when people made you register cars, nobody said they're trying to take all our cars away. There are certain things that need to be done to make the dangerous things in our country safe, and if we need to put regulations on weapons and make sure they are harder to get, easily trackable, and that the CDC could actually research gun violence, these are all things that should be no-brainers.
All right, I want to listen to something else that President Trump said yesterday.
We are going to have to outlaw immediately all vans and all trucks, which are now the new form of death for the maniac terrorists, right? They take a truck and they run over 8 people and wound 16, like what happened in New York and what just happened. It's happening all over. So let's ban immediately all trucks, all vans, maybe all cars. How about cars? Let's not sell any more cars.
Cameron, I don't know if you could understand that, because I know that the audio was a little funny there, but he was basically saying, he was being facetious, let's ban cars and trucks because they are the weapon of choice for terrorists. What do you make of him making light of, it seems like he was making light of the situation there.
Well, you know, that's an argument that I very often see from 12-year-olds in my comments section. There's a very clear difference, President Trump, and I think you know what that difference is, and you're just kind of trying to have a little bit of a laugh at our expense. Trucks are made to transport things. Trucks are made to bring one thing from point A to point B, and so on. Guns are made for one very specific thing, and that is to put bullets in people, like what happened at my school. So while trucks could indeed have accidents that harm a lot of people, trucks are also not made to harm people. But I shouldn't even need to say that. That's just the childish garbage you normally get from that guy while he's trying to get a laugh from a bunch of people at the NRA convention who are celebrating the weapons that killed my classmates.
So, Cameron, I only have a couple seconds left, but what are you doing? You know, you say your votes are what President Trump will end up listening to. What are you doing to make sure that happens? That he hears you and the people that believe your same, you know, that have your same edicts.
Of course. We are working on making voting more accessible, and we are making sure that the resources for voter education and voter registration are as readily available to the people in this country as they should be.
All righty. Cameron Kasky, appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for sharing your perspective. Take good care.
Thank you.